We have another Coco Cabana virus review. And not only that, but it's another piece that we are probably trading up for a better Green Goblin. My name is Mr. X. This is the Extreme channel. We got some Extreme collectibles here. Next to me is Sideshow Collectibles. That's the manufacturer and the distributor, mostly. 1/4 scale, or as they call it in fancy terms, premium format, Green Goblin statue. They made 2,000 of these, and they retailed for $520, and you can still get them for right around $600 or $700 secondhand nowadays. And what's ironic is Green Goblin is a quintessential Spidey villain, and there's not a ton of Green Goblin statues out. Now in the intro, I mentioned that we're doing this because it's the crocovirus. So what I mean by that is if you've watched news in the last few days, you know that the Killer virus is in China and it's holding up all the new collectibles coming into the Extreme collection. So we're looking at some old collectibles. And this guy, not only is he an older collectible that I've had for quite a while, I think I bought him directly from Sideshow back when he went up for PO. But I may be replacing him because I'm getting right here this custom 1/4 scale Green Goblin statue in a few months, unless of course the Kichibon virus slows it down even more. And when I get him, we will do an Extrumble because I think this is an exquisite Sideshow piece. But we're going to look at him together using the Extreme scale. Here's the Extreme scale. It's a 1 through 5 scale. T on the far left is 1. X on the far right is 5. And in a few days, we actually are going to review, maybe a week or so, a custom Spider-Man statue. And I'm going to talk more about my Spider-Man collection because we got some interesting things going on with that. But at the end of this review, I'll show you a picture of what he looks like with the current setup. So as I said, Sideshow made 2,000 of these, and we're going to jump right in, starting with the review, starting with the concept of the piece. Concept is about, does it make sense? Is it a cool idea? Does it flow well? And there's a couple different things going on here with the concept. First, you probably can't see it now, but there's a small sub-base, black format here, which I don't really like, tries to make it like a museum quality. That's kind of a design thing. But he's sitting here on a cloud of smoke. And it's exhaust or smoke that comes from his jet glider, and it's a few different colors which I like, and we're going to talk about some of the paint in detail later. He's on his glider and it's a very dynamic position. It's in the middle of flying, so it is at an angle, which is awesome. I think it adds a lot of flair to the statue, if you will. And he is in an action dynamic pose on it. He's flying, he has his arms in the air, he's doing an angel, you know, like from Angels in the Outfield, but he's about to throw a bomb with an extremely evil, sinister look on his face. And I love that. I think they captured the Green Goblin on this. I think it's kind of the quintessential Spider-Man villain, and what kind of shocks me on this, with not many Green Goblins and him being such a big Spider-Man adversary, that the price on this hasn't gone up any higher. But I think it's an awesome concept. I actually probably like this concept a little bit better than the custom one I showed you, but when that comes, we'll do an Extrumble, which means we'll compare them side by side, see which one we like better, which one is better in paint, concept, everything like that. So I think they captured it well. It pairs well if you put him up against a museum spider, so a Spider-Man who's just standing there, or a Spider-Man like the Comiquette. I actually have the Comiquette right back there. They would pair awesome together, I think, actually. So yeah, I love the concept. I think they nailed it. I think the concept's a 4 out of 5. It's a rail. And a rail means a statue that I really want, but not quite a grail. And that's just for this category. Now next we're going to talk about design, which is displayability. Did things go together well? Are there any issues? And in short, there's not. He doesn't have any switch outs though. That is something that rarely you see in a Sideshow statue. There wasn't an exclusive, there wasn't a collector's edition. It's just one edition, comes with everything as it is, has to be displayed this way. However, I do like the way he's displayed. I think they did a lot of pro things here. First, the engineering is very good. You know, the statue's been out for a number of years. To my knowledge, nobody's ever had any leaning issues, any damage issues. Everything fits together really well. It flows really nice with the natural angle of the smoke. So I think design was smart, and his base honestly doesn't take up that much room, so that was smart. And because he's crouched at an angle, the height isn't horrible by all means. One interesting thing about the design, this his satchel or man purse right here is sculpted, but the strap is mixed media. And it actually keys in right here. I don't remember all the other pieces because it's been years and years since I put them together. I think one negative is that museum base on the bottom. They should have done it all cloud, like XM Studios did with the Storm statue. If you haven't seen that, check out the review here. So I think they did a great job with design as well. I really can't find any faults in them. It's not perfect, so for that reason, it's a 4 out of 5 a rail as well on the design of this piece. If you haven't noticed, this review is a little bit all business because this is like the 4th review in a row I've shot, and I'm out of jokes. But I'll find a way to get in. That's what she said. I'll find a way to get in. That's what she said. Or that. I'll find a good one. She said that too. Next, we're going to talk about the paint and sculpt of this piece. We'll start at the bottom, go to the top, talk about it together. And I think the paint and sculpt on this piece, kind of unless I see something I haven't seen, it's not as good as the concept and design. But let's dive right in. Here's some pictures of that black museum base we're talking about. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. If you move up, I like the bubbles in the smoke. I like the fact that it's the white and the red color to simulate its smoke and fire at the same time. I think they could have intermixed that quite a bit more. I do not like the texture on this. You have larger bubbles and smaller bubbles. It looks like a marshmallow. And I've heard that from a lot of people. That's kind of the big sticking point to this statue. But here's some more shots of it. Like I said, it's mainly the texture that really turns me off to it. The actual sculpt and the flow of it is pretty darn good. Here's some pictures of the glider. First, underneath. One thing about the glider, it's a little too clean, but that's just being really nitpicky. I like the different shading they used in there. The blades by the motors have a little bit of a purple hue to them. And it might be some light reflecting off of his costume. But it looks good, very comic accurate, I believe. Same thing with the top. They did a really nice job with the glider. It's very thin. It's more thin than you would think it would be if you were looking at a realistic version. And then moving on to Green Goblin himself, his whole costume, I love the purple color. Really pops, very comic accurate. The boots, these pointy, very elf-like, goblin-like boots. There's some stitching on here. The sculpt's good. There's not a ton of detail in it, but it looks good. And you got to remember, I don't know if this was traditionally sculpted or hand sculpted, hand sculpted or digitally sculpted, but with digital sculpting, you can do a lot more detail. So there's no texture or anything like that. I like the top of the boots, very, Princess Bride, elf-like, that fold over. And then let's look at his legs here. And Green Goblin, as a reminder, I'm not as well versed in the comics, but I believe it's a suit. So there's parts of this that have a lot of reptilian skin-like aspects to it, then a lot of parts that are really smooth. So I don't know if this is some kind of transformation where he's turned into a goblin and this is his real skin, or if this is supposed to just be a suit that he's wearing. I can't tell you. But it looks good. I think if it was supposed to be his actual skin, they could have used a lot more texture. Here's his his man purse really quick. It looks good. They could have used some texture on this, but the buckles, the straps, it actually looks like fabric, looks like mixed media, so I think that's always a success when you have that and it's actually sculpted. His costume, starting with the bottom, one thing I like, you're going to see a lot of stitching in this costume. It kind of symbolizes that he put this together himself, so that's kind of neat. The purple colors look great, just like the boots. A few different layering on here, belt in the middle you can see. On his torso, some more of the stitching, and it's not even, it's kind of all over the place. A buckle up top and kind of this different layery texture. Not texture, but pattern, and that's all over the back as well. And one thing we really haven't talked about is the anatomy, but as we get to his arms, we can talk about the anatomy. The skin is very similar to his legs or the suit or whatever it is. It looks good. Good anatomy. He's sleek. He's fit, but he's not over muscular, which isn't the character he is. And then I don't know what this is called, but this collar type thing, kind of like the ripped shirt that's flying all over, looks like a collar or scarf. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty cool. I think it adds a lot to the statue, a lot to the character. It makes him a little bit more evil. Check out his hat. I really like his hat. I like the flow of it. There's more stitching, as we kind of talked about earlier. Some folds in there. He has his goggles on top. And now we'll look at the portrait. Kick-ass portrait. I love this portrait. I think the sculpt is a lot better than the paint. So very, very evil, the sculpt you have going on here. The expression, the elongated nose, and the ears, his teeth. Like I said, the paint, I think it's a little too flat for me. They could have used some shading in there. His eyes look really good. They could have used a moist effect, kind of a clear resin moist effect inside of his mouth. Pretty cool portrait. Last thing we didn't talk about were his gloves. His gloves are done great. Very similar to the rest of the costume. You can see the buckles on the bottom. But even around the fingers, the way the gloves line up look very good. Here's some pictures of his bomb. The one bomb he's holding, you can assume the rest are in his purse. And in the beginning, we forgot the dimensions on him, so let's do that really fast. His highest point is probably his hand up here. It's right at 24 inches. His widest point might be his hands as well. 15.5 inches maybe with this part right here. And then if we wanted to look at how deep the statue goes, probably about 13 inches. You can go to Sideshow's website for details. So overall, I think the paint definitely has some opportunity on the portrait. Some opportunity in the shading down here. Could have been a little bit more gray, mix the fire together. But it's still very nice overall. I think there's some really good parts to the paint, especially his costume, the glider, his skin. Sculpt, I think, is slightly better, especially his portrait, his anatomy. But down here, just the texture that you saw, I think that's a big negative on it. So I think the sculpt finds it in the same category. It's a very nice 3 out of 5. And moving forward, we have a new category called value, and I don't like using that on pieces that are being sold secondhand now, because you can't get a true value on the price, or pieces that are older. So we're just going to use that on pieces that just came out. But we are going to do the overall score. Does this have the X factor? It's not an X statue by any means. He is the best Green Goblin out there without a doubt. If you have a Spidey collection, he's a must-have, or a Green Goblin is a must-have. So I think that weighs a lot on this piece, and for that I do give it a W. I think it's a rail of 4 out of 5. If there was a lot more competition with Green Goblins, that would definitely downgrade him. And granted, the custom piece I have coming out that is completely sold out and you can't get it anymore anyway, when more pieces like that come out, and XM Studios actually, they recently teased this one. So I think as more competition comes out, the score of him will go down. But he's an awesome statue. I know a lot of collectors will hold on to him forever. You don't see him up for sale too often, or at least I don't, but I'm not looking for him either. But let me know who your favorite Spidey villain statue is. A lot of options for that. I have tons and tons of them and a few more coming. And we're going to talk more about that with the custom Spider-Man review I do in the next few days or weeks. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.